Well, researchers at the Johns Hopkins University in the US are mapping the spread of the virus. The bright orange dots here show the areas in China where cases have been confirmed. The majority of those are in Hubei province, where the first outbreak was reported. Millions of people in China now face travel restrictions, and around the world there have been confirmed cases in several countries. Joining us here in the studio is the Division Chief of Pathology Sciences at Sidra Medicine here in Qatar, Dr Patrick Tang. Good to have you with us in the studio, Patrick. As an expert in the field, how concerned are you about this virus and its potential to spread?
So I think, as with many experts in this field right now, we're watching very closely what happens in China with a fair degree of concern. Definitely it is a public health emergency in China. For the rest of the world, it's of moderate concern, and we're definitely watching it closely to make sure that it doesn't get out of China.
You dealt with the SARS outbreak when that happened. How does this coronavirus compared to the virus that was responsible for sickening so many people with SARS? And are there similar methods you use to control something like this?
So from what we know so far about this novel coronavirus in China, it's probably less lethal than SARS. So of the people that get infected with this virus, about 3% of them die. Whereas during SARS, about 10% of the people that got infected died from the infection. In terms of infectiveness, the new virus is as infectious as SARS, if not more infectious than SARS, at least based on what we know right now.
Is that when the Chinese government says that the virus is spreading faster, is that what you mean? It's infectiousness, it's the ease of transmission between people. I mean, is it transmissible person to person?
So we know now that it is transmissible from person to person. What we're trying to determine is how infectious it is, how many people are infected by every case that has the virus. So right now we believe it's somewhere between 2 to 3 people will get infected from every one case that we find.
Okay, so at the moment, those of us who aren't in China don't have that much to worry about yet. But it's influenza season anyway. That too is a coronavirus, right? The influenza?
So influenza is not a coronavirus.
Right, okay. But the common cold is a coronavirus.
Yeah, so there's many coronaviruses. There's 4 common ones that are coronaviruses, and they cause common colds.
Okay, so how do we protect ourselves from bugs that are in our general environment? Well, they're not bugs, they're viruses, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. So we have to, for the regular person that's not in China right now, that we have to use common sense measures. So things like washing your hands is probably the most important thing that we can do to prevent infection from this novel coronavirus or other respiratory infections, and paying attention to what we do with our hands, whether we touch our eyes or rub our nose or put our fingers in our mouth. So all of these things are things that can carry different pathogens into our body.
What about the masks that we see people wearing on the footage from China and from Hong Kong? How useful are those in protecting you from viruses that may be around us and in the air? Is this virus transmissible through coughs and sneezes in the air, or is it by touch? Do we know that yet?
So this novel coronavirus is spread through droplets. So as people cough or other respiratory secretions emanate from them, they can cause infections in other people near them. So the mask does play some role. It's somewhat controversial because some experts would argue that the masks don't give you 100% protection from the virus, and that is true. But there is a fair degree of protection, and some people might argue there's about maybe 70–80% protection, and that might be good enough for the regular people. And the other thing that the masks do is it raises awareness of the disease. So when people start wearing masks, and more people are aware of the disease, and they take more common sense precautions against infection.
And one more question to you as a scientist. You call this the novel coronavirus. Where did this come from? By novel, we mean that it hasn't existed before. Did it mutate in form from another virus? I mean, how do things like this appear in the environment?
So after SARS, scientists went out to find out, well, where was the source of SARS? And from all the studies done in China, they found that these coronaviruses live in bats. So there are probably hundreds, if not more, different variants of SARS viruses, coronaviruses that live in bats. And any number of them might have mutations that allow them to cause infections in people. So if we have unfortunate juxtaposition of all these different events where you have a virus in a bat that has the right mutations and it happens to encounter a human being, then you can establish human infection.
And one quick question here about the possibility of it mutating once it is capable of infecting humans. Could it mutate and get worse?
Yes, it could. So that is what we're trying to do right now. So everywhere around the world, both in China as well as the rest of the world, we're trying to contain this virus so it doesn't have a chance to spread between human to human, because every chance that it spreads from one person to the next is a chance for the virus to further adapt and further mutate to become a virus that is a human virus.
Patrick, it's been great to talk to you. Many thanks indeed for coming to see us at Al Jazeera. Dr. Patrick Tang there.